Good afternoon. What a pleasure it is to have you joining us today for this exciting and informative session on something that I think might appeal to all of us. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the COSI Professional Development Session for today, October 18th. And we have a knowledgeable panel set up for you to share some information. We have Brett Weiner, Juan, we have Linnell, we have Jade, and we have Carrie. And I will let each one of them tell you a little bit more about themselves. So thank you for getting us going. Thanks so much, and thank all of you for being here.
Hi everyone. I'm Brett Weiner. I work as a media production assistant with COSI. I assist with helping course media, making sure it gets done, and covering the entire production process for that. So yeah, I'm happy to be here to present this.
Carrie. I'm also a digital media assistant here with Center for Online Learning. Actually personally worked with 360 videos myself, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this topic today.
Hello, my name is Juan. I am a filmmaker and multimedia assistant here at COSI. I usually assist with on location recordings and also video editing.
Hello, my name is Linnell Forrest. I'm an interactive media specialist. I make quizzes and surveys fun and engaging so that people want to participate with them over and over again.
My name is Jade Jaramillo. I'm also a digital media assistant, and I help with the development and curation of media for online courses.
So today we're discussing the prospects of 360 video and whether it's right for you, right for your courses. And we'll be discussing more along the lines of the why today instead of the how for the most part. And it's more of a coffee chat, so feel free to chime in at any time. It's a group discussion, so we're here to discuss.
I guess during this discussion, the real main thing that we really want to get across is really kind of find out some of your ideas, because we, have worked with 360 videos, and especially in my experience, we've mostly worked with science courses, but we'd be really, really interested in hearing some of your ideas. In fact, before the discussion, we actually talked amongst ourselves, and we had a lot of different ideas on some courses that we could see 360 being very helpful for. So we really just want to extend that to you. This way you can share with us like what you've possibly thought about when considering 360 videos.
And some of you might be asking, what is a 360 video? Essentially, it's a camera with 2 or more lenses that captures a 3D space, allowing us to, immerse ourselves into situation. With 360 VR videos, you're able to navigate wherever you want. So, an example would be if you're in an archaeological site, let's say the Colosseum, Rome. Instead of looking at, frames of a video or images, you're able to navigate through space as if you were there.
Just add in here that Dr. Abby Perkins reminded us, as most of us do. Let me see. As a teacher, I want to take you back to, 4th grade math. 360 degrees is a full circle. So wherever you're sitting, if you could turn your head around, or maybe you're on a swivel chair, turn around and see a full 360, that's what we're referring to is video that can do that. Amazing stuff.
And I think we have an example, right, Brett? In the poems?
Yeah.
Video is correct?
Yeah.
The chat of Google Earth example, I'll also be including our link to our Innovation Hub tour.
And I will also share my screen as well, so we can, if you guys are unable to see it on your end, I can share that with you. All right, so can everyone see this? All right, so here we have a 360 photograph of a town, I believe in southern Morocco. I believe this provides a very good example of a situation where 360 comes in very handy, since it's halfway across the world, not easily accessible to most people. And you can see all different angles. You can see the environment, you can see the details, you can zoom in and see some more details about the place. And yeah, so I believe a good example of using this for a course would be either a history course showing the history of the place, or a architecture course, archaeology course. So just for this very specific example, just showing the area you're in, which is not really accessible. And for the link that Jade mentioned for our Innovation Hub tour, another series of 360 photographs. This one's more interactive, and you can move around a bit, and you can see all different angles and different information as well for each environment. So are there any questions about this so far?
What's unique about this video is that you can actually advance throughout the room. So what's nice about that is you have this feeling of like you're traveling, you're exploring. Things are clickable, and you can see videos in this example. There's questions to answer. There's a lot of exploring that can happen.
It's a really exciting tool, and it kind of gives you more of a sense of the space than like a traditional, just a video would. You get to walk around, you get to explore, you get to touch things, and you get to see some of our staff kind of not playing, but playing. Playing is learning, playing is engaging with some of the tools that we hope that faculty would also be able to get their hands on.
Carrie are smiling in this video. It does look like fun.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing now.
Abigail, and I just wanted to quickly thank Dr. Judy for summarizing what the 360 means, a 360 degree, about turning your head and seeing the whole spectrum. And then also, Brett, I really appreciated how you mentioned that this would be applicable for archaeology. It sounds like this avenue could be applicable to a variety of domains. So I would be interested if anyone in this session would be willing to share what domain they are in and if they see any applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. Yep, so this is an example I shared, QR code right there if you want to use it on your phone. For the Google Earth for the southern Moroccan town. This one's for the Innovation Hub tour as well. And now for the benefits to a 360-degree learning. And so I will leave this open to the rest of the partners for this to discuss.
You might be wondering, whether this technology is just a fad or if it actually has any substance to it and to the learning environment. And it does. It promotes active learning instead of passive, and it allows the student to develop, I guess, like a sense of accomplishment, completing a quiz in VR. And that's very vital and very helpful for not only learning information, but being engaging. Because one thing it's often, I think, overlooked by previous generations is that video games do increase your dopamine levels. And if we add that to learning, yeah, I do think it helps. Well, it's not that I think, it's just proven to show that like it helps students retain information. It also simplifies complex concepts in the classroom, and it is based on facts. However, it helps the student just kind of like synthesize information and sort of easy. And it also avoids the students from becoming bored or disengaged when faced with difficult like courses, like for example chemistry. Instead of reading about chemical reactions, you could do a simulation and work on a chemical experiment from your own home.
That could be a lot safer, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I need clarification. Juan, did you just say work on an experiment from home?
And,
I'm not sure how that would look.
well, I mean, it won't be like a physical experiment. I would say it'll be a simulation, but you could go through some essentially like through some paths. For example, if I'm doing a chemistry experiment, I could learn, what things should look like or how things should react to each other when I'm actually doing, physical experiment later on. Um, so it's just a way to prepare. You not because if, for example, if you mix two chemicals in a simulation and you end up creating, like a harmful gas, now and so you don't go ahead and do it in the actual physical experiment. Classroom.
So a variety of outcomes are already recorded,
Yes.
predictable outcomes that could happen. And these outcomes are important for the instructor um, to show people, okay, this could happen and that will be a successful thing to do. But then there could be consequences if you don't follow certain routines. And that should be recorded as well and part of the assessment.
Correct.
And so what I'm hearing then, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So what I'm hearing is that in some ways this is the next best thing to being there, but also in some ways maybe it's better than being there in case I wind up actually putting the wrong two things together and blowing up the lab, right?
Correct.
I think
And
there's also a certain amount of individual attention that students can get there too. We have done chemistry labs in 360 where if a student makes a wrong selection, they're led to a video that tells them why that was wrong. So imagine doing that in a class of 30 and having to wait till each individual student gets something wrong and spend that time telling them what they did wrong, what the actual outcome was, what it should have been. Instead, they're directed to a video that tells them this was wrong. Here's what the outcome is, and now let's go back and retry it.
especially because some students, they're afraid of asking, for help, or just to know if they're doing the proper procedures. Another benefit is that VR experiences they're not real, but your body believes it is. So it engages your mind in a different way than traditional uh, educational procedures. Like instead of rating it, it's more not only more engaging, but since your senses are being stimulated, it helps us with the retention.
Oh, that's awesome, one, because that connects to one of my fascinations is with the neuroscience, because the fact that you are engaging that way, the brain feels like it has truly done that experiment. I love that.
some examples as well or benefits of this is that you could do highly technical trainings in VR, including military or medical training. You could even have a simulation, between a therapist and a patient. And obviously, due to COVID, it's not every time you're able to meet in a lab with your professor. So VR learning really helps in that regard, in that you're able to still get a lot more comprehensible studying done.
So in general, participation increases the interest in the task itself. And people most likely come back. If they enjoy it, they'll come back and try it out again and again. And especially if it's like a low stakes assessment where the student is not intimidated in participating. And they can actually go, oh, I wonder what happens if I select a different choice, a different path. They're not so concerned with the grade, they're concerned with learning.
Correct.
And exploration.
Also on the PowerPoint is this term gamification, and I think that can be this either scary or even kind of demeaning thing. Like it's not just we're gonna play Candyland. It's setting certain goals. So you having clear expectations of your students where they're able to see what am I gonna do today? What is expected of me? So something as simple as having a rubric that is clear and understandable. Setting a clear outcome, what you want to have happened at the end of the lesson, and just providing those clear standards to your students, and even just course correction. You're doing something wrong. That's not a bad thing. Let me explain to you what the right thing would look like.
It's really good for the student to be like immersed in this lab, and kind of like we talked about a few minutes ago, but it's really just a good opportunity, I think, for them to really see, you know, like see the lab and actually, be involved in the experiment. Anything I think that is hands-on, I think 360 videos work really well for, because it just gives them, makes them feel as if they're actually doing it themselves.
I'm actually going to show in a second a virtual gallery that Google Arts and Culture has, and it might I don't think it's equally as good as being in person, but in some regards it is, just because you have the amount of detail they add to these like exhibitions VR. Like you're able to get up close to a painting and see its brush strokes and the little ridges in the canvas, compared to when you're in an actual museum and you have this really famous painting, but you can't really get close to it because of the barriers. So I'm gonna go share that real quick with you guys. So I'm over here in this virtual reality gallery, and I can go up to it wherever I want to. Just click around. See this painting, for example, by Gustav Klimt, and I can zoom in, and you're gonna start seeing, all the painting, which you don't see reality, to safety concern for the paintings, and you're able to essentially have the museum experience, but at home, where to the point where you get a description of the piece, when it was made, what it signifies. It's like being in an actual gallery, and I think it's really marvelous that we are at a point where we're able to do this. And for example, this is a painting that was actually artificially colored through AI because the original one was lost or two. And yeah, it's just there's a lot of applications for this. If you're an art professor and you weren't able to have your exhibition due to COVID, well, you can consider doing a virtual one. And you will be lacking, from the face-to-face interaction with, for example, with the attendees, but it might be a little bit more engaging for them as well, just to have access to feature like this. So, yeah.
So yeah, we can, anyone feel free to chime in.
It's really exciting to see how this technology has complemented so many other fields so well. With the art, it's exciting to see it bringing access to people who traditionally might not have access to a museum. I have right now up, I have the Dali Museum, which I was fortunate to be able to go and check out in person, but it's exciting to know that something like the Dali Museum or the Louvre have those things accessible for people who traditionally might not be able to make that trek up to St. Pete or to France and to go see a museum that has all kinds of amazing artwork that they might not have been able to see originally. There are some augmented reality tools that you can use, such as some of the paintings like come alive if you hold your phone up and you're able to interact with and more clearly see some of the details, some of the uh, creations that he made in his painting, some of the effects that he did so practically. And augmented reality is something that we also do in the hub, and something that we play with as far as like how it can relate to and transform the idea of education using these kinds of tools.
Share a comment that Kimberly Stanley made, that it's everything is so new to us that we don't even know what to ask. So so thank you for sharing the types of things that truly are available, or at least an example of how to start thinking into those terms.
I can maybe spark some creativity on maybe some of the areas that I think we could use 360 video more. And I know we touched on some of these already. I know the theater that Juan was showing, an archaeological, or I'm sorry, an architectural location or archaeological location that Brett had showed earlier. Those are just like some, really the sky's the limit, I think, as I mentioned. I keep coming back to science because I feel like that seems like the most obvious, but this is just really giving a good idea on just what the type of potential you could really tap into with, with 360 video. I think the second bullet there, creating empathy, something I was thinking about even before this discussion was being, because 360 videos or images are oftentimes sort of recorded from the point of view. So even in that example, it could be used where you're playing the role almost of the nurse or of the patient, even, being able to, see different types of perspectives and engage with the content differently, so I think that would be it really kind of creates empathy as we shared, it just gets you to feel more immersed in that environment. And then of course the third bullet, as I talked about before with science and, you know, seeing your like dialing in your measurements and finding out or figuring out why this was this or why it was done this way and having a little video that explains to you why you did it correctly or why you did it incorrectly. So I really think the sky is the limit when it comes to 360 videos, and really hope to hear, you know, one of the things actually, and I'll probably say this too, that occurred to me before was with media, for example. If you're teaching a media course and you may not really have the tools, I guess, to have your students be hands-on, that could be an opportunity to show them, where the camera settings are, how to dial this in, or so there's just a lot of different things I think you could use this for. Um,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sort of circling back to the virtual tour of space section. Um, in the far left instance, we have the Eiffel Tower, where you can easily get 360 photos and videos of. But I think a sort of added benefit to that technology for that is seeing how for much larger for much larger structures, you can sort of see how objects and different locations sort of interact with each other. In the case of the Taj Mahal or the Angkor Wat, instead of just seeing pictures, you can actually see distance and sort of the detail of how things sort of support each other in that context.
Yeah, I had this idea that I feel like it will be great for an architecture class in which you take a building that from start doing video recordings of it, like 3D video recordings of it. Um, the entire process, like when they're laying the foundations of the building, they start building it up to the point where it's finished. So you can do, like a timeline where, you can teach the students like this is how the environment, this is how it will look, the construction side, and that way you have a lot more in-depth look into the process without actually having to go on a field trip and show the students, especially because construction sites aren't really the safest places to be in. Um, and yeah, I think there's a lot that we could do. We could also do theater in which you kind of train somebody of positioning of the crew members, um, where you're supposed to stand, where you're not supposed to be doing. Just to name some examples.
It was maybe 2 years ago. I went to the ICU that's local to here to do a three-dimensional recording with Danny and the rest of the media team. And the security is very top, they got top security, you need clearance. It's not an easy kind of environment to walk in and out of. There's so much security. So making the 3D video of that environment is really helpful to the students because they don't have to be inside the hospital to see everything in action.
On that second bullet, creating empathy, wherever you work, to some degree, you're going to be either working with or influencing other humans. And that's an important lesson to teach students, but that's so abstract to just put to a word and say, this is this, and you need to have it. So to be able to create that experience and truly have them internalize that concept, I really do think that 360 video is a massively important tool in that, like to teach them things like empathy, to teach them things like praxis. What does praxis mean? What do cells combining, what does that actually look like? What are the functions of the body? What is this historical event? What does this, like as Brett said, architecture, what do these look like, and what is a parapet? But to be able to show students that in such an immersive way, I think really puts that important concept in a more accessible format, especially for students who would not be able to reach those places traditionally or see those things.
So the one approach that could be done with this technology as well in the great empathy will be to have a simulated surgery for med students. Because obviously, most of the time they learn just by getting thrown into, a surgery room and seeing. But, it's one thing seeing, a doctor perform it, and then when you actually have to do something, that's on. So it might help them get over, I guess, the fear of or handling, like a person, especially because it is a very tough career path, just due to the nature of it. And it might be good to help desensitize, students, so they're not as shocked as.
And even in a hospitality environment, so maybe you're inside of a kitchen, and timing is of the essence to getting things to the clientele. What happens when meals have to wait before they can go out? And all those kind of situations can be presented in the same type of environment.
And speaking of hospitality, we have Dr. Ward with us, who has said that he would be happy to That's
It's
Michael.
very true. Like ways to go beyond the concepts. And so looking at different positions like you just talked about, or different aspects of a resort, or whatever the case may be, is kind of that would do a lot to enhance the content that's already existing within the course. And so, as I said in the chat, I work with this team a lot. They're phenomenal. So now I have something else to put on their plate because it's never enough, apparently.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. I'm going to mention to our team that it is 12:56. If you want to move on to another topic, I know you have a couple of things you want to share.
Yep. Real quickly, here are just some applications you can do. You can utilize to explore this new form of media. We have Expeditions Pro for Android app. We have free virtual tour software, and the links are going in the chat. Thank you for that, Jade. And here we have the more technical detail, just to sort of explain the real quick how. I believe Juan discussed this very early on in the presentation. 360 cameras utilize 2 or more lenses. Each lens creates a video file and a software program, some of which are included here. Stitches it together and combines it into one spherical file that you can look around from the center of that the 3D sphere. And here's a quick example of the process. Step 1, we have 2 spheres taken from each lens. Step 2, they are stitched together to create one flat distorted file. Step 3 is transforming that distortion into a spherical object for you to look around it.
Okay, so if you go to the next slide, okay, yes. You know, for $300, you can get an Insta360 Go 2, and you will be able to record your own 360 video. And actually, for some of the videos that we showed, that we made, in the here in Cozy, were actually done with the more cheaper cameras. There is one called the Insta360 Pro 2, which costs $5,000. Has like, I think like 5 different lenses, but honestly, you can't even get the same result with the cheapest one available. So, you know, if you want to do it by yourself, you know, here are some of the options. But of course, you're more than welcome to contact us, and we'll help you do.
This has been truly amazing. Thank you all. I so appreciate the expertise and the experience and the wisdom that you bring to the table for us. That there are so many things out there that are available to all of us that, for the most part, like I think it was Kim that said in the comments, for the most part, we never really thought about. We don't know what it is. We don't know. So thank you for opening this magic Pandora's box up for us. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And thank you to all of our guests for joining us. We do appreciate it.